Nope, don't have any 6s. Go fish. Let me help you. There we go. Okay, Ratton, do you have any 3s? What? You don't have any 3s? Are you sure? All right, I believe you. Go fish. Hey, Japeechen Scouters, Justin here. And as you can see, I'm still stuck deep underground in our super secret workshop. Unfortunately, it's still raining outside. By my calculations, it's been raining for 3 days, 11 hours, 28 minutes, and 14 seconds. And I am so bored. What was that? Hey look, the mail's here. Let's clean up a little bit and see what we got. Sorry, Ratton, we're gonna have to finish this game later. Okay, looks like we got a postcard. And it's a really cool postcard. It's got a picture of a whole family of pickles on a camping trip. I can't wait till we can all go camping again. It's from my good friend Alan. He says, "Hey Justin." Hey Alan. I hope you've been doing lots of scouting work while you're stuck at home. I think we have been. I noticed in your last video about whipping and fusing that you used your handy dandy Boy Scout pocket knife. I did. I hope you remember that even when you're at home, you still need to follow proper totin' shit guidelines. Do you still have your totin' shit? Alan, of course I have my totin' shit. It's right here. Well, that's not it, but don't tell anybody. With this postcard, I've attached a key. I think you'll know what it's for. Remember, it's dangerous to go alone. He did attach a key. I wonder what this key is for. You don't think it goes to the locked box with lost key. I've been trying to get into this box for weeks. Let's see if this key fits. Look at that. We're in. Let's see what was so important that I had to keep it under locked box and lost key. This is amazing. I've found where I stored all of my Boy Scout pocket knives. There's quite a few of them. Today, I thought it might be fun to not only show you some of my favorite Boy Scout pocket knives, but also to show you how to care for them. The first 3 knives I'd like to show you are all very similar to one another. The only difference is the number of additional tools they each have. The first knife is a simple Boy Scout pocket knife. This simple Boy Scout pocket knife has a large blade, a small blade, a can opener, and a Phillips head screwdriver. There's lots of things we could do with that on a camping trip, don't you think? Let's move on and see what other knives we have. The next knife I'd like to show you is a Swiss Army knife. A Swiss Army knife is very similar to our simple Boy Scout pocket knife, although it has even more additional features. This knife has not only a large blade, small blade, can opener, and Phillips head screwdriver, it also has a flathead screwdriver, a corkscrew, a bottle opener, an awl, a small pair of scissors, a pair of tweezers, and a toothpick. That's almost too much stuff. We have everything with us. Let's move on and see what else we have. The final knife in this series of knives is a multi-tool. This multi-tool has not only all of the features of the Swiss Army knife, it also has a small saw, a fish scaler, a file, and when you open it, it turns into a pair of pliers. Having a multi-tool with you on a camping trip is almost like having an entire toolbox with you. Moving on. The next 2 blades I'd like to show you have one thing in common, and that is they do not have additional tools. Each of them only possesses 1 blade. The first one is a simple lock blade knife. This lock blade knife has an additional safety feature. When we open it, did you hear that click? It has a locking mechanism that keeps the blade from closing while it's in use. This lock blade knife is my favorite Boy Scout pocket knife. Let's close it and move on. The final knife I'd like to show you is a fixed blade knife. A fixed blade knife is different from all of our other knives, in that it does not close. It is always open. For safety, when we are not using the fixed blade knife, we need to make sure that it is in a sheath. Speaking of sheaths, as you could see, all of my pocket knives had sheaths. Those sheaths are not only for my safety, they are for the safety of the knives as well. Speaking of safety, when talking about knives, the safest knife we can have is a sharp knife. A dull knife requires more force to cut, and it could slip and damage what we're cutting, or worse, we could cut ourselves with it. So, moving forward, let's learn how to sharpen our knives. If you're following along in the Boy Scout Handbook, turn to page 380. On page 380, it tells us that to sharpen a knife, we'll need to grind it against a special stone used for sharpening. We'll also need to make sure to maintain a consistent angle. The angle that the book recommends is 25 degrees. Do you know how to find 25 degrees? If you don't, I've prepared an example to show you. I've prepared 3 blocks. Each of these blocks possesses a different angle. The first block represents 90 degrees. The second block is half of 90 degrees, or 45. The third block represents half of 45, which is 22.5 degrees. 22.5 degrees is very similar to the 25 degree angle that we're trying to find. So let's use it instead. Okay, let me show you what this looks like on a blade. To help you see it on your screen, I've developed a contraption to make one of our knives larger so you can see what we're working with. A few nights ago, I placed one of my fixed blade knives in my Unshrinker 5000 and let it sit and do its magic. Today, when I came back, I had this gigantic knife that you will find easier to see on your screen. So let's carefully take it out of the Unshrinker 5000 and place it on the table. First, let's see 90 degrees. 90 degrees would be if the blade was straight up and down. Do you see that? Good. Let's move on. Now, let's take half of 90 degrees, which is 45. This is what 45 degrees looks like. Moving on, let's go half of 45 degrees. Half of 45 degrees is 22.5, which is very close to the 25 degree angle that we were talking about using. Do you see what 22.5 degrees looks like? It's very shallow. Let's move on and try to sharpen our knives, maintaining that 22.5 to 25 degree angle. As the book said, for sharpening, there's many different tools that we can use. There's oil stones, whetstones, diamond hones. There's many different kinds of sharpening tools. I prefer these because I think they work the best. Today, we're going to focus on the diamond hone. Let's move these out of the way. Let's get our knife that we'd like to sharpen and place it in front of us. Having a safe work area is the first step to knife sharpening. All of these tools require some lubrication. For our diamond hone, we're going to use just a few drops of mineral oil. Let's place it on the hone. A few drops. Let's use our fingers just to rub it all in. There we go. Okay, let's take our knife and open it up. Now, let's find our angle. Remember, 90, 45, 22.5. So, to sharpen, let's try to use the whole stone. Let's use the tip of the knife at the beginning of the stone, and using a half moon motion, let's try to end on the heel of the knife when we get to the other end. Let's try together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Let's do that 5 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. This side of the knife is now sharp. Moving on, let's try to sharpen the other side. To sharpen the other side, there are 2 things we can do. We can either switch hands using our left hand, or if we feel more comfortable with our right and dominant hand, we can start at the other end of the stone and move the knife towards us. The problem with doing this is that we're moving a blade towards our body. This is not always a great idea, so if you're going to use this method, make sure to be very careful. I'm going to switch hands. And again, I'm going to start at 90. Half of that is 45. Half of that is 22 and a half. I'm going to take the tip of my knife, place it at the front of the stone, and using a half moon motion, I'm going to try to get the heel of the knife to end at the other end of the stone. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Now let's do 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. This knife is sharp enough for us to use now. Let's close it and talk about it a little bit. Let's move our stone out of the way. So as we said, now we have a sharp knife, which is a safe knife. There's a few other things we need to talk about in terms of knife safety. The first one is when opening it, make sure to always open it away from yourself. When holding it, make sure that it's always pointed away from yourself. When it's no longer in use, make sure to close it and set it on the table in front of yourself. When passing a knife to someone, make sure to hold it with a firm grip and hand it to them, but do not let go until they give you some affirmation that they've got a hold of it. They could say thank you or got it. Okay? Great. I hope today that we gave you some great knife safety tips. Moving forward, we're going to start using our Boy Scout pocket knife on a lot of our projects, so I hope that you know how to use them safely. Okay, thanks so much for stopping by. As I've said for the last few times, over this next month when we're stuck at home, make sure that you stay safe and stay scouting.